I've had questions on how I'm going to remove these springs. Somewhere I have a little motorcycle spring compressor, but for the life of me I can't find it, so I'm just going to push down on them by hand, and then pulleys are what hold the shock in. So I'm just going to push the spring down by hand and pull those out, and hopefully it comes apart. So let me see if I can set you up so you can see the standing up a little better. Yeah, I might need a second person just to pull those out, but maybe not. There. That's how I'm taking the springs off. And it's important you put all these spacers back where they belong, otherwise your springs will squeak. So there's the shock. We'll clean that up. And there's the spring, and we'll clean that up. And I'm going to give the springs a really quick bead blast. I'm just doing it to clean them up, so to rough them up so the paint sticks. I'm not going to try and blast every speck of the paint off because it's kind of a nice flexible paint. And I'm just going to rattle can them with some Rust-Oleum because that's all it takes. These automotive paints, you got to put those flexatives and stuff in them if you don't want these to, you know, the paint to peel. But I want to get all the dirt and, you know, roughness off of them. They're almost bare metal now as it is. This bead blast cabinet really cleans the paint off, but mainly it's like sanding them. It just roughs them up, gives the paint something to stick to. So I try and hit them all the way around in every direction to make sure I have everything, you know, cleaned up or sanded, so to speak. Get all, if there's surface rust like in here, I will blast that completely off, so it will be bare in some spots. I think I need to use my pliers so I don't ruin my gloves. You can save your blast cabinet gloves if you don't blast them, so that's why I keep these pliers were out of the Catalina. They're in the trunk of the Catalina when I went through it. Alright, that looks pretty good. Those two are blasted. Let me get the other two and let me take them out and see how they look. That looks pretty good. They got some sandblasting dust on them, but there's a lot of spaces like on it that are just bare now. So I'll clean them up in some, I'll wipe them down with lacquer thinner. I'll blow them off with compressed air. Wipe them down, we'll blow some paint on them because it's supposed to snow. Believe it or not, what is this, 9th or 10th of April, and they're still talking snow. So let me get the other two springs blasted and we'll blow some paint on them. You can see these weren't leaking any, they're not oily, so, and they feel like they dampen good still, so we're going to reuse them. I'll clean them all up, polish them up, and totally reuse them. I think these will come out, well, I don't know. They might be stuck on there, but I wonder if they're, maybe they're replacement shocks. It looks like it had a sticker on it there. Looks like it says 85s or 35s or something, and then it looks like a WOLA below that maybe. I don't know, it's hard to see. Yeah, I don't know what they are. It looks like 35 something. Yeah, I can't tell what it says. So anyway, let me get this other one cleaned up and then we'll give them a coat of paint. Get these shocks, all these components buffed up, and then I can at least get the shocks back on, and then I get the wheels on. I can push it around the the garage. Getting the wheels on will be no big deal. I'm going to put this on so I can put it on my transmission jack, and then I can jack it up and put the front forks on and the front wheel and the handlebars. And once I get the shocks on, it's just a matter of getting the rear wheel cleaned up. And then we got fenders and a gas tank. Getting the paint all rattled up there, ready to spray. Okay, that is all shook up. Let's go and spray the springs. And the reason why I use rattle can on things like the springs, two reasons. You know, they flex. So if I used acrylic enamel with the hardener, the paint's probably going to crack without a ton of flattener or flexitive, but that flattens the paint if you put too much in. So use a rattle can, and if they, you know, the ones on the 175 were rattle canned, and those are been on there I don't even know how long now, probably 10 years, and I've ridden that bike quite a bit, and they aren't cracked or peeled. But if they do, you can just pop the springs back off quite easily and respray them. It's just pretty easy to do with a rattle can. All right, let me get these sprayed, and then we'll start polishing all the bits. That's one coat. I'm going to put 2 coats on them. Let them dry about 15-20 minutes. Dry time between coats is extremely important. And then I'll let them dry for probably a week before I try and reassemble them so I don't leave handprints in it. And the hood is open on the truck. I got my battery maintainer back on it. I never drive the truck, so I keep the battery up with the maintainer because ECU and whatnot drain the battery on it. All right, let me let those dry, and then we'll get to buffing parts. There we go. 2 coats on each spring. That'll be more than enough. Keep them looking nice. And like I say, if the paint gets messed up on them over the years, because they're rattle can, they're ultra easy to repair. You just pop them off and clean them out and respray them. Give them a quick sand or bead blast. Yeah, they'll be fine. They'll be perfect. That to that. And that was the cruddier bolt that I just buffed. This is the one that was getting urinated on by the cat spray. That cleaned up good. Yeah, sitting here buffing. I sit here on my stool and I still get a backache because you're still kind of leaning over the machine to buff. So I'm only going to bolt a few things today. The shock parts is it. You can kind of see how this is messy in the garage. That's why I do it out here. You get all the stuff from the wheel and the rubbing compound, and everything just goes everywhere. So this is much easier to do. Well, much easier to clean the mess up. It's no easier to do out here than it is to do it in the garage. It saves me a huge mess. Alright, I think you get the picture. So I go over it with a coarse compound on a coarse wheel. Get everything looking really nice, including the ends there. You can do that. Takes a bit of time. Starting to clean up. That black stuff on there now is rubbing compound. Buffing compound, whatever you want to call it. But just kind of give you an idea what... This is why I don't video polishing bolts. It's actually pretty boring. And I'm sure you're not going to be excited to watch it. But then after I do that wheel, I come over to this wheel and give it the final buff, so you get the final shine out of it. All right, let me finish these up and the other little bits, and I'll show you what they all look like when I'm done. Here's another before, the one on the left. Yeah, that one's pretty rough. That was at the bottom too, kind of where the cat was spring. These are the top, the longer ones are the top bolts, and the shorter ones are the lower bolts for the shocks. Yeah, this bolt's cleaning up pretty easy. I thought it was going to be kind of a bear to polish up, but you can see it's coming pretty clean pretty quick. Alright, so I'll just keep working at this until it's nice and shiny like the rest of them. There's 4 bolts all total and all the shock bits that got to be polished. So I'm going to be here for a little while on this polisher. And that's what they look like after. Yeah, they came out pretty nice. Like I say, the longer one goes in the top, and the shocks were in this hole here originally, so that's where I'm putting them back there. Just thread that in a couple turns so I don't lose them. And now I'm going to start buffing up all these bits, and then I got to clean these up, and then I'll clean those up. I think these I'm going to have to free up on these. I think I'll spray some penetrant around them right now because I think that cat urine bonded them slightly. Anyway, we'll see if we can get them apart. That's what the before looks like, and that's what the after looks like. So they do clean up pretty nice. It's brutally cold out, so I don't know how much of this I'm going to do. It's unusual for April. We're only been in the 20s and 30s and it's windy out. I think it's about 35, 36 out and really windy. So yeah, it's kind of brutal out there, but I'm going to finish buffing these and then see what I can get done on those before I get too cold. Did I show the shock tube? Yeah, I took all this up, got it all freed up. I don't want to I've just got it sitting here together just so the paint can dry on the springs overnight, and tomorrow I'll put them together. I'll turn these to where they're set at the lowest, you know, down the furthest, to make it easier to push them down to put these little doodads in that hold the top up. And if you can get them to turn down before you take them off, it's easier. But these ones were stuck, so I couldn't turn them, but I had to take a punch and a hammer and tap them down and get them off to get them freed up. And I cleaned up the shock and the inside, cleaned everything up nice. They're like brand new. I don't want to take all this stuff back off. I don't remember if I videoed them or not after I cleaned them up, but they're really nice now. The paint's all dry on these now, and I'm just going to show you how I assemble them. So I'll turn this to the lowest setting. You can see all this is cleaned up and free. So I'll set that at the lowest setting, and then I'll get this. Let me set the camera somehow so you can see it. I'm just going to put it together the way I took it apart, basically. With that thing set on the lowest spring tension setting, I just take my little piece here and set it kind of about where I want it. I just push down on the spring. One's in, and I get the other one. I'll turn so you can see. Push it down again. There we go. And then I can just turn this with the tool once I get it back on the bike, which is already, this one's on. Let me throw this one on. Both are on now, looking good. They looks a little better than what it did before I started, don't you think? Yeah, that's a big difference. They look like brand new instead of some old, rusty, muddy, something that should be in the garbage. Yeah, they look amazing. They cleaned up nice. Another thing I'm going to yap about is I got a backache after buffing. I don't know if any of you other guys use one of these or not or something. But anyway, I'm sitting there I was using my little stool there and sitting out on the patio just out here buffing the parts for those shock absorbers, the bolts, and, you know, just the hardware and stuff. And my knee was about right here, and sometimes I would touch this, but I could feel these jolts, static jolts, you know, because it generates a little static when you're buffing these parts. Sometimes with my hands here and I'm buffing, I get sparks between my hand and the buffer motor. Sometimes I got to hold my hand on the motor while buffing to keep from getting shocks. But anyway, I ended up going in, and then I noticed all these little marks, red marks, and I think that was the sparks between here. And my left leg of my back was killing me last night, and I'm thinking it was from that current from buffing here, because it had, the last time I buffed 3 days in a row, my back killed for 2 weeks. And yesterday I was out there for maybe an hour tops buffing, and I could hardly sleep during the night. My back hurt so bad, and it was hurting most of the day. It's eased up now, but I'm thinking it was from the current flowing through my body from my hand, down my arm, through my body, out my knee, and arcing here. So I'm going to put a ground wire on this. I might put 2 on it, one that I can stick into the ground, although it is grounded with the power cord. But I think I'm going to put a ground wire like somewhere under here or here that I can just hold on to while I'm buffing, or just wrap it around my hand or something. The hand, you know, that I'm holding the parts with, so the current doesn't go through my whole body. There's no getting around getting static when you buff. That's just part of buffing parts. And the shocks, they just kind of go with it. But when it was shocking through here, and it left all these little burn marks, and sometimes I could even see the sparks. Some of the sparks are like that long. And yeah, I think that's what caused my back pain. And I'm going to, and because I only get my back aches when I get to buffing, and I thought it was because of my posture standing or sitting at the buffer. And it's from because I didn't get it when I was standing buffing in the past. It was when I was sitting in the stool, and I had a lot of little fiddly stuff too. I'd just sit in the stool and just sit out there, and nice sunny day, and buff. And all those zaps would be coming through my leg into the, sometimes I'd just push my leg up against this so I wouldn't feel it, but the current's still flowing through you. And as I was buffing, my back was starting to hurt, and I just stopped after a while, but I think I had pretty much everything done. So I just, you know, that's just kind of my thought. I don't know if any of you, anyone else has experienced anything like that. Leave a comment if you have, but that's kind of my thoughts of what was causing my backache. Let me get this sprocket off, and so I can start cleaning things up here. I got a wheel, spokes to clean up, a hub to get ready for paint, and a sprocket to clean up, so I can put this bike back together and get it ready to sell and ride it until it sells. I've been working on getting that one over there going properly. That's why I've just been sitting here. I've been putz with it now and then, but I'm waiting on parts for that bike that won't be here for another 4 or 5 days. So that's why nothing I can do on it until the parts come. So I'm just gonna, and who knows, maybe that video will be up first. It looks like I need to take a hammer and hammer my nut on the socket. So if you get nuts stuck in a socket like this one, this is how I do them. Works every time. All right, let me get this thing apart, and it's going to be a nice day today. So I'm going to work on it outdoors probably, sit on the back garage patio and clean. And tonight I'm taking that to dinner with the car club group of guys I belong to. So that'll be the first real outing with it. I did take it out on Woodward once, but you know, just to warm it up, just make sure it was all running good and everything for the first time of the season. So we're going to take it out the second time of the season here in a, well, I take that back. I did run errands with it one day, and I was out with it probably half the day. So yeah, I've driven it a couple times. All right, let me get this thing apart. That will make it easier to clean the spokes and the hub up without this getting in my way, and I can clean this up much easier now. I think I'm going to throw this in the parts washer and just let it soak for now while I work on this. The size of this seal. It's a big one, no doubt about that. All right, let me start cleaning on this. To my surprise, these spokes are cleaning up very nice. I took some lacquer thinner and wiped all the hub and grease all the way around on the whole hub. I took some Wesley's bleach to the tire, and now I'm steel wool and chrome polish on the spokes, and it's taken less effort than what I expected to clean them up. Very happy. Hopefully they all clean up nice and repaint this hub. It's going to be very time consuming taping off all these spokes because I'm not taking it apart. That would take twice as much time as masking it. Then you have to break down the tire, you have to undo all these, and who knows how many would break, and then you got to put it back together and true it up. It's just more work than it's worth to remove the hub from the wheel. Maybe you can see the way the shade has moved. I've been out here working quite a long while on cleaning this wheel up. I sanded all that paint out, cleaned up the spokes. So next chance I get, I'll do some masking and painting. That's about as clean as everything's gonna get. There's some spokes, you know, it could be replaced, but it looks good. I'll maybe put some I don't know, I'll get something put on the spokes so they don't rust in the future. They're pretty rough, some of them, but most of them cleaned up pretty good. I think it'll look good once the hub is painted and all back together on the bike. I think it'll look okay. All right, so we'll call this good. My thumb was locking up. My hand was killing me from getting in there. You know, that's hard on the old body when you're in there, you know, working, and my hand was cramping up. I just can't do it. I used to when I was younger. Now that I'm, you know, in my mid-60s, it's not like being in my mid-20s anymore. All right, let's get that masked up so I can prime it and then paint it in a day or two. Yeah, hours of masking later. Got it in primer. We'll let that dry a couple hours, few hours, and maybe if it's not raining out, we'll blow some paint on it. Time to paint the wheel. We'll get the paint mixed up and give it a shot of paint. Got the rim painted. It's really, or the hub, not rim, the hub. Yeah, anyway, it came out pretty darn. Roll it over here in the sun. Yeah, it looks pretty darn good. Looking a lot better than what it did. All corroded and peeled. That was a lot of time and cleaning spokes and masking. One day of cleaning spokes and another probably good 2 or 3 hours of masking. And the sprocket was pretty rough, so I bead blasted and painted that too. So it's all looking good. Got the front wheel on the bike. My helper didn't want to be videoed, but it's no big deal. You know, I just lifted up on the bike while he shoved the forks up through, put them exactly where they were originally. And these aren't tight because I want to get the handlebars on and get everything squared up. I snugged these up. But there we go. We got a wheel installed. And now when I installed the skid plate so I could set the bike up on my transmission jack here so I could work on it. And it's pretty much all ready to install the rear wheel. I got the kickstand on. This is just sitting here loose still, but you know, just getting things together. But I might put the rear wheel on next. There we go, the rear wheel is on. Both wheels are on. I can push it around the garage now if I want to. Yeah, looks nice. Tomorrow or the next day or whenever I get a chance, I'm gonna I got to clean up the handlebars so I can put them back on, connect up all the wiring, put the exhaust on, probably put the carburetor. If I put the handlebars back on, I can hook up the cables. I got to put the Kickstarter and shift lever on, still got to clean these up, the rear foot pegs. But yeah, we're putting a dent in the mountain of parts I had. The bike is going back together nicely. Kind of running out of good painting weather with all the pollen and bugs and stuff, but we'll still get the stuff painted up. I got the fenders and the gas tank left to paint, and I think next I'll do the fenders so I can get them reinstalled, and last I'll do the gas tank. One last thing I wanted to add to this video: if somebody has a stator that goes in there for 70, I think it's 71 to 74, maybe 70. Anyway, I need a stator for this. It's a 72 CB500. It charges. I put a new regulator, diode bridge in there, rectifier, whatever you want to call it, and it doesn't charge. Charges if I don't have any load on it. As soon as I put lights on and stuff, it goes into the negative on the ammeter, but it'll charge it. I can get 10 amps out of it, but like I say, I put a load on it and the charging is history. So if somebody has a stator that would work on this, it's really, I can't ride it because the battery keeps going dead and I need the charging system to work. So let me know if you leave a comment or something, or email me if you have a stator that's good, known good. I don't want to buy junk. This one here looks fine. It all tested out good with the ohm meter. Everything about it tested good. But I can't get the charging system to charge. I've gone through all the wire connections, gone through the voltage. Well, I put an electronic regulator in. I still have the mechanical one, which I went through. I just can't get the charging system charging on this bike. So again, if somebody has a stator, let me know. I'm going to end this video here, and we'll continue it on with the other goodies when I put them on the bike. So that is it for this video. If you liked it, definitely hit the thumbs up icon. It helps me out. Subscribe by hitting that 348 engine icon that powers my Bel Air if you like my channel. And thank you for taking the time to watch my video.